the recent video that I made on dissolving the mind into emptiness, I got a comment on that video, someone asking, what's the difference between repression or suppression and disengagement? And I wanted to take this moment to clear this confusion up, because if this doubt continues to persist, it really keeps you stuck in those loops of thinking. It keeps you in the loop of memory, of the personal identity, of hurt, of trauma. And it keeps you feeling like disengaging is actually a denial or a distraction away from what's ultimately real, your hurt. So I want to discuss two key differences today, which will really help you discern between the two. The first key difference between disengagement from the mind, simply taking the attention away from the mind, versus repression or suppression, is that in disengagement, there is no personal identity. Whereas in repression and suppression, there is a firm assumption, unconscious assumption, a firm belief, identification as a person. I, as this person, am refusing to deal with my emotions. I, as this person, am refusing to deal with my past, which is so real. My hurt. You see, in repression or suppression, although you're trying to disengage from thoughts, the personal identity is maintained. It is clinged on to unconsciously. The repression and suppression is being done by the personal identity. It is only this thought that claims that this thought is too unbearable. It is only this thought which resists this thought or this emotion. So repression or suppression are purely personal. And with that, the personal identity is maintained. It is continued. And that which you are suppressing just becomes another memory. That which you are repressing just becomes another idea or concept or hurt or trauma or experience, right? Memory added on to this idea of personal identity, of who I am. So in repression or suppression, even though you're putting these things down and trying to take your attention away from it or distract yourself perhaps, you are adding on more baggage. You are taking on more hurt, adding on mental impressions, which will continue to just be the new conditioning and what unravels in the future. Whereas what you'll notice with disengagement, right, in the non-dual teaching, you are asked to, as the mind arises with its many concepts and ideas and memories, just bringing the attention away. As what do you take the attention away? As what, right, are you disengaging? As what are you aware of this idea of who I am or what I've been through? So you see, in disengaging from the mind, you are asked to even question, as what are you aware of this past hurt or this memory? In disengaging, in the practice of disengaging, we are not coming from personal identity. I, as this person, am disengaging from the mind in order to be free of this past, so that I can one day be better or healed. That is the main point to grasp. In disengagement, there is no personal identity. Matter of fact, you're not just being asked to disengage from the mind, you're being asked to question the very subject of your experience. As what are you aware? So you see, in repression and suppression, the person is the subject doing this or that. In disengaging, you are not you as a person are not the subject anymore. The person itself, which is just a bundle of thoughts, emotions, sensations, memories, desires, fears, that person itself is the object to which you are the subject. As what are you aware of the person and its hurt and its ideas and its concepts and its past? So one is a maintaining of this personal identity and operating from that contraction, that contracted belief, therefore adding more ideas, adding more mental impressions to this concept of what I am. One is a total freedom, almost a total cleansing, a releasing, a letting go of what I am not, and no longer adding on more ideas about what I am. There is no personal identity at the heart of it. What is at the heart of it? That is what you're actually asked to question yourself. So we'll go deeper on in this, but I want to bring in the second point, which is in repression or suppression, because you are coming from personal identity, because the person is the subject, there is an unconscious belief in the reality of the past, in the reality of this external world in which I am just a person, in which my past is very real, in which my hurt is very real, in which my hurt must be healed, in which there's a future to be had. Whereas in the non-dual teaching, in inquiry or disengagement, you are questioning the very reality of the world and the experience you consider reality. You consider real. You consider the truth. You consider the ultimate thing. So in repression and suppression, it is right? These thoughts are suppressed. Meanwhile, there's still a feeling like they are so real. They are so true. What they say and what they project and what the ideas of what I have been through, it is so real. And it is something I'm running away from, or it is something I don't want to deal with because it's too uncomfortable. Because again, those emotions arising are so real. Almost like they have a greater external reality beyond you. And in disengagement, you are disengaging free of person. You are disengaging from the person. You see, in the non-dual teaching and in inquiry, you're disengaging from the person. You're taking away the attention from this momentum of personal identity, of what we call ego. This firm belief in what appears as real, as truth. The person can, right, there's a teaching, the person can be said to appear, but it cannot be said to be real. And matter of fact, maintaining this personal identity, you can even stop suppressing and repressing, and you can go on your incredible healing journey, yet you will still feel lackful, you will still feel hurtful, you will still feel broken, wounded. You will always feel like there's more healing to be done because the person itself is imperfect. There's no perfection to be had in the person. Whereas in inquiry, in disengaging from the person, from what position are you disengaging from the person? Is that one lackful? Can you find any limit to that which is aware of the person, of the world, as the appearance? So you'll see that many people who are in psychology and those sorts of sciences, which itself has a purpose and it has its own place within this whole teaching and this sort of healing process. However, when it comes to this depth to which we're discussing today, that can even be thrown out the window. Because again, in all those practices, the reality of the person, right? The person remains the subject, and the world outside remains ultimate truth. It is a reality. Whereas in inquiry and the non-dual teaching, that is what we are completely questioning. And it is clearly seen that the person itself is just flawed. It will never be perfect. Yet it is not what I am ultimately. So freedom from personal identity, not just healing the person, but freedom from the person who claims to be broken. And releasing this and questioning this idea of a very solid world in which I am just a limited individual. Those are the key differences. One practice helps at a certain point, at a certain state of consciousness, but the other completely transcends the conventional paradigm of being a person going through their journey in the world of objects, from past to future, from healing to from hurt to healing. One is a sort of, right, when you stop suppressing and repressing, one is a sort of freedom, but still unconscious bondage. One is a total releasing. One is a already acknowledging your position as the freedom. So, although the differences are subtle in practice, in experience, where you come from is what ultimately matters, is what ultimately decides which side you are sort of falling into. So I want you to experience this and verify this in your own experience and see that when you do disengage, free from personal identity, it's almost like denying reality, denying life to all these ideas about who you are and what you've been through and what you must go through now to heal and to feel good, to feel happy. It is a total, that which you take attention away from, right? So also disengagement is being done from this understanding that what you take attention away from does not exist. It has no existence of its own. It's almost like a denying it life. Not as a form of denial, but just as a form of understanding that these projections that arise that ultimately claim to be so true and real and need to be dealt with, all that is a facade, all that is illusion. And it can simply be disengaged from, and it ceases to be real. And you will see, so like if you begin practicing this, and just inquiry itself, as you are taking attention away from so many of these doubts and fears and questions and ideas of hurt and past and story, you will see that so many of these things will cease to be relevant, cease to be real. And the freedom you feel is just greater and greater and greater. We want to cling on to these things and then be free from there while maintaining these things, while maintaining the story, while maintaining the personal identity. But again, the person can never be free. The person itself is the limitation. The person itself can never be healed. The person itself is the wound. It is the lack. It is the imperfection. So be that already, which is already in the position of perfection, free of limitation. As what are you aware of the person and its activities and its past? So I hope this video clears this up. I do have a free class right now on letting go, how to live in total acceptance of what is, and just ease into your true nature as that which is aware, rather than contracting into the belief of I am this, I am that, doing this, doing that, with this past, with this future. So you can take a look at that class, watch it if you haven't already. I'll link it down in the description box. I'll also link somewhere here right now my acceptance playlist, which will really help you with this art of disengaging from the story and learning to come back to what's actually real, your experience here in this moment. And learning to bring your attention to the actual experience, resting as that which is aware of it. So go ahead and take a look at that. I'll see you next time.